You never expect your whole night, maybe even your whole view of the system, to change because of a traffic stop. 3 sentences in, that's all it took. The lights came on behind me, I pulled over clean and slow, window already down, hands resting where anyone with sense would put them. And before the officer even finished asking for my license, he said it real calm, real casual, "You don't look like you belong in this car." And yeah, that happened. I was maybe 5 minutes from home, radio low mind, already halfway checked out, thinking about leftovers in the fridge and whether I'd remember to call my sister back the next day. Nothing dramatic, no rush, just another quiet stretch of road I'd driven 100 times. When the lights flashed, I did exactly what you're supposed to do. No sudden moves, no attitude, no hesitation. I've been around long enough to know how these things are supposed to go. But from the second he walked up, I could feel it in my gut, that tight little pull you get when something isn't about rules anymore, it's about control. He didn't raise his voice, didn't insult me outright. That almost made it worse. He said I'd changed lanes without signaling 3 blocks back. I told him I hadn't changed lanes in over 2 miles. Not defensive, not loud, just factual. He didn't argue, he didn't explain, he just took my license and registration anyway, like the answer didn't matter. Then he leaned a little closer, not enough to be obvious, just enough to invade the space, and dropped that line about not belonging, like he was stating a fact everyone else already agreed on. I kept my hands on the wheel, fingers open, thumbs resting on the rim. He told me to keep my hands where he could see them, even though they hadn't moved. The command came after the compliance, not before. You know what I mean? That's when you realize it's not about safety. It's about reminding you who gets to give orders. He started asking questions, slow and deliberate. Where are you coming from? Where are you headed? What kind of meeting? And I answered each one the same way every time. Short, clean, no extra words to twist later. He asked the same question twice, then stopped halfway through asking it a third time, like he caught himself looping. There was this long pause hanging there, uncomfortable on purpose. He looked at my license again, tapped it lightly against the window once, twice. "Look at me when I'm talking to you." I lifted my eyes. Nothing else changed. No explanation followed. He slipped my license into his pocket and walked back to his cruiser. That weight messes with you more than people think. The engine stayed running. No radio chatter, no printer noise. Cars passed. Time stretched. I shifted once in the seat, then forced myself still. When he came back, his posture was different, squarer, closer. "Step out of the vehicle." I asked why. Calm, even, not challenging. He didn't answer, just repeated it. "Out of the car." I moved slow, door creaking once as it opened, 1 foot down, then the other, stopping exactly where I stood instead of picking a spot on my own. He pointed toward the back of the car with 2 fingers, not even looking at me. I walked there and stopped at the bumper hands at my sides, eyes forward. "Stay right there," he said, already walking past me. The search started. It sounded normal enough at first. Doors opening, fabric shifting, plastic compartments being moved. He even said, "Relax, if you're clean, you'll be home in a minute." But the search kept going. Under seats, around seats, floor mats lifted, dropped, lifted again. The pace didn't match the reassurance. I stayed still, shoulders slowly settling lower, the way you do when you're trying to disappear into yourself. Then he told me to come closer. I took 2 steps and stopped when he raised a hand. He reached into the car one more time and came back holding a small, clear bag between his fingers. He didn't say what it was. He just let it hang there long enough for me to see it clearly. "Care to explain this?" I looked at the bag, then at him, then back at the bag. My face didn't change because there was nothing to change into. I told him I'd never seen it before. He let out a breath that almost sounded amused. Everyone says that. The cuffs came out. The sound sticks with you, that metal click when they open, then again when they close. I brought my hands together without being asked, wrists crossing the way they always do when someone knows how cuffs are supposed to sit. "You're being detained," he said. I asked for what charge. He didn't answer. He walked me to the cruiser, firm hand on my elbow, eyes already forward, like the decision had moved past the point of conversation. From the back seat, the world feels smaller. Angles are wrong. Space is tight. He told me not to say another word and shut the door. The lock clicked. I watched him keep searching my car, searching after I was already cuffed and locked in. The bag wasn't sealed, wasn't labeled. At one point, he set it right on the driver's seat, plain as day, like it didn't even need hiding anymore. That's when I noticed the red light, my dashboard camera, still on, Still recording everything. I didn't touch it, didn't point it out yet. I just noted it, tucked the thought away, and waited. When backup arrived, the temperature changed. 2 officers, different eyes. One of them looked into my car and stared at that bag a second longer than necessary. The other walked up to the cruiser and asked if I was okay. I nodded, then said I wanted to speak with a supervisor before this went any further. No edge, no drama, just the request. They asked him questions. Where'd you find it? He answered too fast. Yeah, documented. The pause after that answer was small, but it was there. I mentioned the camera, said it clearly. There's a dashboard camera mounted under the mirror. He brushed it off. Doesn't matter. Search was clean. One of the officers leaned toward the windshield, tilted his head, and said, "There it is." That's when the supervisor was called. No lights, no rush. Just a car pulling in and stopping at an angle that blocked the lane. A laptop came out and got set on the hood close enough to the windshield camera that it felt intentional. Nobody spoke while the video loaded. It started before the stop, before the lights. The lane stayed steady. No signal violation. Window already down. Hands already on the wheel. The search played through. Floor mat up, down, papers moved, returned. Then his hand dipped out of frame and came back with the bag. Placed it. Removed it. The supervisor froze the frame, rewound it, played it again, slower. That's enough, he said, and closed the laptop. I handed over my identification when asked. Badge and name. That caused another pause longer this time. Notes were written. Names, times, locations. Then the words I'll never forget. Officer turn around. The cuffs went on him. Adjusted, checked, centered. All the things mine hadn't been. I stood to the side while the evidence was finally handled the right way. Bagged, labeled, sealed. Photos taken of the seat, the floor, the camera mount. I handed over the memory card from my camera. Logged separately. Sealed again. You're free to go, the supervisor said. I nodded, but I didn't leave right away. I waited until the paperwork slowed, until the adrenaline drained out of the scene, until it felt real. I drove home on the same road I'd been pulled over on, but everything felt different. Lighter in one way, heavier in another. The review opened within hours. Prior stops were flagged. Patterns showed up once someone finally looked. Solo searches, delayed inventories, evidence appearing late. 17 cases reopened. 17 lives dragged back into rooms they thought they'd escaped. Charges followed. Evidence tampering. False arrest. Civil rights violations. The trial didn't take long. Guilty on every count. 7 years. No parole. Badge gone. Pension gone. Some convictions were overturned. Time returned where it could be returned. Where it couldn't, there were apologies and checks that never really add up. I went back to work after the review cleared. They offered a commendation. I turned it down. I asked for one thing instead, that dashboard cameras be approved permanently. Everywhere. The request was granted. The camera stayed mounted. The red light stayed steady. This isn't a story about a perfect stop or a flawless system suddenly doing the right thing. It's about how abuse of power usually looks boring on the surface. It hides in delays, in unanswered questions, in evidence that shows up before the explanation. It's about how one small decision to record can break a chain that's been hurting people quietly for years. So, I'll leave you with this. Was justice served? The moment the cuffs switched wrists, or only when the system was forced to watch itself on playback? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Argue with me if you want. Tell me if you've seen something like this, whether you spoke up or stayed quiet. Because these stories only matter if we talk about them, and silence is how this stuff survives.